Hi folks, and welcome to my first Decan study, which relates to the dates the 11th or the 12th of November and ends on the 20th or 21st of November. In other words, today, which is when I'm actually filming this video. So I've spent the last 10 days studying one card. So it's been quite intense, but I've enjoyed it, and I've had to go to a lot of different resources. I find through, thumb through books and decks and all sorts, but the main resources I've used I will highlight in this video. And of course the first one is this 36 Secrets by T.Susan Chang, and their podcast, the podcast she does with M.M.Meleen, which has actually come to an end, but all the episodes are there. Brilliant resource. And then the other one, which also talks about going through the year, is this book here, Corrine Tarot and Astrology, which takes you, well, it does the major cards as well as the minor cards on the Decan wheel as well. So yeah, and she uses the Wizard's Tarot. Another resource, which is one of the best resources out there, I think, for tarot, is this here, Complete Guide to Tarot Illuminati, which I have talked about in a different video, but that gives a really good detailed description of the cards, generally, as well as just for its own deck. And then the other one is the Tarot Vampyres guidebook, Ian Daniel's Phantasmagoria, which goes with the Tarot of Vampyres. It comes in the set. Another excellent tome. I began my studies by mapping out what it was I was interested in, what I wanted to have a look at in relation to the card. So, for instance, the numerology of the card, the Tree of Life, Kabbalah, different decks and how they look at the card in their own way, chakras, crystals, all sorts of things, as you can see. So that's where I started, and then I listened to the podcast, and from that I did another spider diagram, which got quite convoluted, as you can see. There's an awful lot there. Based on the first mind map, these were the things that I was finding out. So a lot of research, as you can see, went into that. And in doing that, I came up with my own ideas, and also I tapped into other people's ideas as well. So those are sort of the resources that I was looking at. The two main decks that I use, Rider-Waite-Smith and the Thoth deck. They are really good study decks. So, what did I learn? Well, the Empress, we usually see her as she's the representative of Venus. So she's all about beauty, sex, all the good things in life. All the beautiful things in life. She's sort of Mother Earth. She's usually seen as pregnant, very, very positive. And then we have death. Now, astrologically speaking, Venus and Scorpio are not a good match. Venus doesn't like being in Scorpio very much, and so the beautiful things about love and sex and all that are corrupted by Scorpio. So this leads to violence against women, is one of the things that Crowley talks about. It's really not nice. Corrupted sex, carnal desires gone to extremes, drugs and sex and alcohol and mind-altering substances that leave us in a bit here of a quagmire. So the beautiful cups have become ugly. The lotuses have turned into tiger lilies. And tiger lilies mean, I'm going to actually go to my notes here. So the definition for tiger lilies, or the association for tiger lilies, is purity corrupted. So if you look at that in a sexual context, it's really not very nice. This lord of debauch is all about having a guilty conscience, corruption through weakness, destructive, it's toxic, which is probably where the death thing comes in, because obviously toxicity and death are related. And illusions, delusions. Susan Chang and M.M.Meleen talk about the walk of shame and hangovers, the morning after. So maybe we've had too much alcohol here and then we're feeling really awful the next day. And maybe we've done things we've been ashamed of. So shameful, guilty secrets comes in there. And this swamp here, well, if we look at the cups, are they emerging from the swamp? Are they becoming something else, something new? Because if we see that swamp as a primordial sea, that's where life comes from. So maybe it's not all negative. And indeed in the death card, death is producing something new. And of course the Empress is also producing new life. Interestingly, because this is this time of year, November 11th to November 21st approximately, this is when all the leaves have come from the trees and turned into mulch. And mulch, if left, warms the earth underneath, which encourages new life, keeps it warm and ready to sprout again in the spring. So, there are sort of positive aspects to this card. Even though it's a grey, damp, dark, depressing time of year, it's not my favourite time of year. So Scorpio is all about the reproductive organs. It's related to them. It's a water sign, so it's all about deep emotional energy. And here, that's very deep emotional energy. If we're caught in the mire here, if we're stuck in the mire, I found actually a quote about that. Wallowing in the mire, very old term, and it means to remain stuck in an undesirable or negative situation due to an unwillingness to do something to change. Robert Wang says this is an extremely intense and emotional, often involving deceit, egocentricity and selfishness. So we're stuck here, we need to get out of this. So let's have a little look at the Rider-Waite-Smith interpretation, which looks completely different. So how do they correlate? Well, here we've got illusions, haven't we? Our head's in the clouds. This is not reality. We need to get past that cloud. It's just deluding us. We think we can have all this, but in reality, we can maybe only focus on one, and maybe we shouldn't choose any of them, and we should let that cloud disappear, because it is all in the mind. It's air. It's foggy. It's blurry. The imagination there is clouded. What would I do if I won the lottery, huh? So Waite himself says this is nothing permanent or substantial. But on the positive aspect, all possibilities are there in this situation. So there are possibilities. And it's unknown territory. Again, it's about transformation and sacrifice. So the two do correlate, although they show it in completely different ways. So on the tree of life, the sevens, if we go to the numerology, they are on Netzach. Let me see if I can find a tree of life. So in tarot and astrology, she does touch on the tree of life. So here we can see the sevens here on this sphere. And that is Netzach. And as you can see, it's, if this is spirit, spirituality, and this is earth, which is, then on this pillar here, pillar of mercy, the sevens are the furthest away from spirit and the closest to earth. So human, normal human life as we know it. And obviously we want to try and attain spirituality. So we're trying to climb this tree, and with the sevens we are quite low down. Now she says here, a nice little chart, the seven, it's at the sphere of victory. All the sevens, Venus, the planet of love and attraction. The seventh sphere helps us appreciate the beauty and pleasure of life. It embodies delight and passion and moves us to interact with others. Unfortunately, the seven cards in tarot can be weak and unbalanced, which is what we see in the Seven of Cups. It's an unbalanced energy and furthest from spirit. So because we can occasionally fall prey to Venus's glamour and the unrealistic emotions and illusions she inspires, which is what the Seven of Cups is actually about. As Waite said, nothing there is real, it's all illusion. So we're chasing dreams. That lottery we're never going to win. Okay, so we're disconnected from spirit. We're in the world of Bria, which is water. The four worlds, Bria is associated here. So Bria is all about creative acts, manifesting magic, but passion is needed and an emotional connection is needed to actually bring them into real life, into reality. So we need to actually really want something, really want something in order to manifest it. And here we're too wishy-washy, we're too water. There's so much water involved here. Scorpio is a water sign. Empress is a Taurus, so she's more down to earth, but because she's in detriment in Scorpio, she's not showing her full potential there, just the shadow aspects. So this is a very difficult card that I started with. Let's just have a look at this in a creative way again. So, because the Seven of Cups is to do with water, it can be associated with artists and people who have a passion for the arts. So musicians, poets, painters. They tap into the imagination to create. A lot of things come from the imagination before they are manifest. You know, sometimes ideas come fully formed to people and they know, you know, Leonardo da Vinci, for example. And it's illustrated here in the Deviant Moon Tarot. I've got the big book so we can actually have a really good look at the picture. So find the Seven of Cups here. So we have a look at the Seven of Cups in the Deviant Moon Tarot. So what we see here is an artist, and he's looking at what he's painting with one part of his brain or his consciousness. But his subconscious, his creative part, is actually painting something completely different to what his conscious mind is looking at. Okay, so I think that does actually really illustrate what the Seven of Cups, in a positive aspect, can imply. So in Phantasmagoria, in Daniel's book, he very kindly gives the kindred spirits, and I've seen this in other books as well. So that might be something we could use to actually connect to the card. So in essence, the absorption of emotion, indulgence, sensual lust, intense creative imagination, excess or high activity, giving up control, adventure, visions, illusions or enchantments, hunger and craving, satiety, can't say that word, debauchery, desire, elusive, dissipation, deception, false dreams, dispersion or chaos, degeneration. So he's actually encouraging the positive aspects of this card and telling us to indulge in our dreams, indulge in sensual desires, but basically don't take it too far. Creativity, passion and sexuality are all indicated by the Seven of Grails. So it calls for us to divert from the safe path and explore new experiences, stimulate our senses, indulge in deep ecstasy. But as I say, he says don't take it too far, because you can, flights of fancy can disassociate you from reality. And you can actually become disorganised, which I can see actually creatively. Such interesting stuff, isn't it? Right, I wanted to just show a couple of different card decks. So I'm going to start. I got a real deep connection with crystals. So I thought Melody's Loving the Earth Crystal Tarot might give me some insight. So look at her card for the Seven of Cups. There it is. It's so similar to Crowley's. Although that sea does seem to be moving, interestingly enough, but she's got the tiger lilies there and the empty cups, the water spilling over and not filling them up. And she's got the triangle shapes. But as you can see, very unstable. You've got one cup below with 6 cups above, so that is not very stable at all. So that, I think, is quite interesting. Let's see what she has to say. The Seven of Cups, a symbol of seduction from virtue, morality or allegiance, represents the illusion and the weakness associated with the feminine energy of water, a flow of water which must labour to continue and which may be suspended. The card exhibits the principled qualities of both obsession and delusional delight. It represents debilitation, which is due to a deficit in equilibrium, conveying a superficial brilliance which conceals an innate deterioration and corruption of that which is displayed. So that brings to mind things like plastic surgery, that eternal wish for youth to stay, to halt the ageing process by any means possible. And of course we come back to advertising there, don't we? And it's used to actually promote lotions and potions and procedures to keep us all looking young and beautiful. So if we can see there, that's the Empress in detriment, really, isn't it? If we go to the Bright Future Tarot, so the Bright Future says fantasy and visualization, but the interesting thing with this one is she's actually holding the Venus mirror, the hand mirror of Venus. So I thought that was quite interesting. And there's an illusion here in a pool of water. So again, illusions. So in its positive aspect, she talks about healing ability, artistic ability, dreams and visions and illuminations. Be careful what you wish for, lest you get it. So here she talks about people who are able to visualise very easily and connect to inner illumination. And comes up to represent tarot card readers and those who work clairvoyantly, as the Seven of Cups is very visual. So we'll easily channel images through the third eye centre and be able to understand the relationships between symbols. So again, there are very positive aspects to this card. It's not all gloom and doom. In the Osho Zen Tarot, which is one of my all-time favourite decks, the Seven of Cups is represented by this card here, projections. So I think that really does emphasise the illusions aspect of the card. We see what we want to see, not what's really there. And we project things onto each other. And then when people don't live up to our projections, we feel like they've let us down, when in effect they're just being themselves, but we've projected something onto them that isn't really there. So Osho says, the man and woman in this card are facing each other, yet they are not able to see each other clearly. Each is projecting an image they have constructed in their minds, covering the real face of the person they're looking at. All of us can get caught up in projecting movies of our own making onto the situations and people surrounding us. It happens when we're not fully aware of our own expectations, desires, and judgments. Instead of taking responsibility for them and owning them, we try to attribute them to others. A projection can be devilish or divine, disturbing or comforting, but it is a projection nonetheless. A cloud that prevents us from seeing reality as it is. The only way out is to recognise the game. When you find a judgment arising about another, turn it around. Does what you see in others really belong to you? Is your vision clear or clouded by what you want to see? Perfect interpretation of the Seven of Cups, in my opinion. So in the Sufi Tarot, we have, again, somebody trying to make a choice between all these different options and just giving herself a headache in the process. Quite similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith. So Sufi says, in an upright position, it's about obsession with the worldly. It's about indecision, choices, multiple opportunities, lack of clarity, failure to see the larger picture, so getting caught up in the details. They say, when this card appears for you, you're being asked, what are you seduced by that looks too good to be true? This card will often be referring to choices you must make and opportunities you are presented with. How do you ensure that you are making a choice that is sustainable, not short-sighted? How can you move away from decision-making based on wishful thinking rather than grounded in reality? Sufi philosophy recognises that our hopes and fears can colour reality. Hopes cause us to project a rosy picture onto a bleak reality, and fears keep us from embracing the positive. You're being asked to examine the choices before you through the lens of your own hopes and fears. So there's a nice affirmation here, and it says, I embrace reality and make my decisions from a place of groundedness. So I think that is the message, really. The takeaway from this card is to be aware that you're ungrounded, that you're caught in things that aren't necessarily there. As I said, illusions, delusions that can lead us down very, very dangerous paths. Now, these paths can lead to creativity, like with artists, or they can be very, very negative. It's difficult to go down this path. It is a very difficult card when sex becomes perverted. And it actually can lead to death. I mean, if we take, say, Michael Hutchence from In Excess, and the way he died, and the way a lot of people die with sexual perversion, trying things that are very, very dangerous for a sexual high. So there's a very negative side to that card, which obviously doesn't apply to everybody. So I may have mentioned before my interest with crystals. I am a crystal therapist and have been for many years. I actually used to teach crystal therapy in college, and I found this deck. I've done a walkthrough of it. I haven't actually uploaded the video yet, but I will upload it soon, of this new tarot deck that I've purchased called the Crystal Magic Tarot. And I really like the associations that she's made with the tarot cards and the crystals. Brilliant. So for the Empress, we have chrysocolla, which is really good because it's got a high copper content, and the Empress has an association with copper. I mean, if we think of the Statue of Liberty, that is made from copper. Jet is associated to death, and jet it's fossilized wood that's been compacted down for millennia. And with the card itself, the Seven of Cups, we have vanadinite. Vanadinite is not a common crystal you'd find in crystal shops. You've actually got to hunt for it, and does associate very, very well because it helps you become grounded, as does jet. So chrysocolla will open your heart center. Death and the Seven of Cups, the crystals associated, will help you become grounded, and this is what you need to help you overcome the Seven of Cups negative aspects. So let's have a look at the cards themselves. So we have here the Empress, similar colours, Death, and the Seven of Cups. There we go. So those are the cards here associated, and the crystals. So that would be a nice way to actually work with this card. Deep red and formed with a natural hexagonal crystalline structure, vanadinite is a stone of discipline and focus. If you need help pursuing your goals rather than just daydreaming about them, vanadinite can give you the mental blinkers you may need to filter out distracting thoughts and get on with what it is you need to get on with. Grounding and energy conserving, this fiery red crystal will quieten a noisy mind and help you to implement boundaries that serve your ambition without time wasting or procrastination. So in The Complete Guide to Tarot Illuminati, Kim Huggens talks about the power of the imagination for the Seven of Cups. So she's going again with the creative aspect of it, artists, etc. And she says, it is quite possible that the Seven of Cups is one of the most mysterious cards of the tarot pack. It's difficult to ascertain what is happening in the fantastical, otherworldly card image, though the scene is clear. We have no context for the events unfolding, nor a facial expression in the character, because his back's turned towards us. With which to judge. The Sevens of the Tarot bring with them the qualities of flux and shifting power, and the number 7 in traditional thought is seen as a magical and spiritual number. So if we think of the 7 seas, the sevenfold mysteries, the 7 known planets back then, 7 days in the week, 7 is quite a powerful number. Add these qualities to the suit of cups, concerned with the emotions and the spiritual self, and filled with its own connotations of flux and fluidity, being water, we find that 7 of Cups is ever-changing, shifting creature that doesn't quite reveal everything. It's like the judgment of distance in water because of the way that the light refracts through water. What we see is not the exact truth. yet we see enough to know what is there. We are being shown half-truths, but not quite lies. So quickly looking at the numerology of number 7, I found these keywords: self-reflection, introspection, thoughtfulness, and re-evaluation. It's a developmental stage. Wisdom, spirituality, assessment, standing at a threshold, seeking advantage. And in its negative aspect, it's about self-obsession and reclusiveness. But the objective of it is understanding. So it's a search for understanding. Ways to work with this card. As I said, using the crystals, meditating with them, doing crystal work, maybe using them on your chakras. So you could work with those different crystals and see how that helps you. But also you could journal, and I've found prompts, and from those prompts I've also formulated a few of my own. So these are things you might like to journal about. As I said before, if you won the lottery, how would you spend it? And which of those choices would bring you the most fulfillment and joy? What do you really want? That's a big question, isn't it? What do you really want? And what first step or plan could you explore to achieve it? What is your relationship to shame? Or what is your relationship to sexuality? That might be something worth exploring in a journal. Are you actually connected to your sexual needs? And what steps could you take to actually rectify that? Can you uncover the root of any shame you might feel? Where did it come from? Was it something somebody said? Was it how you were treated by somebody? Maybe replay that scenario in your head or in your journal and get to the root of it and find out what it was really about. That shame is illusion. What aspect of yourself are you hiding? And how does that make you feel? What would make you feel more comfortable to share? Sufi asks, what do I need to do to bring clarity to my mind? So those are all journal prompts that you might like to explore. This is my little synopsis, really, of what I've explored with these cards. There is a lot more, actually, I'll be honest, but it's just too much really to go into. There are other people that are doing this walk that go more into the esoteric side of it, but I've sort of concentrated on the real world side of it rather than the historical. How it can help me, how I can work with a card, and how it can bring me clarity and positivity into my life moving forward. So I hope it helps you too, that you've gained something from this. I know it's a little bit rambly, but there's so many aspects to look at. It's a bit difficult really to actually bring them all together into one cohesive whole. You know, the branches, like you see in my maps, they go off in all different directions, and it depends on what really interests you. So if you're interested in journaling the cards, then there are some prompts there that maybe you could explore. If you're interested in crystals, there's a way in there. If you're interested in chakras, then maybe there's a way in there. But good luck with your studies, and I'm going on to the next decan in the journey, and that is the Eight of Wands, Sagittarius 1. And if I actually showed you a wheel, there we go. There we go. That is the wheel. What I didn't actually mention, and I haven't explored in this video, are the outer rings. So if we go to the dates, so there's the Seven of Cups. It's got November, goes up to the 21st. And if you look in the outer rings here, we've got the King of Wands, or the Knight of Wands if we're talking Thoth, the Page or the Princess of Cups, and the Ace of Cups. So we've got a lot of water there. There's a lot of water going on. We've got the Ace, we've got the Page or Princess, and the card itself, which is the 7. But there's a glimmer of hope there, look. There's a Fire card. So that might be an aspect to look at as well, as it works alongside there. As you can see, as we go along here, we've got Fire, the 1 suit, the 8, 9 and 10, and we've got Fire up until, so the first 2, the 8 and the 9, we've got Fire and Fire. Then we've got Cups and Cups, and Fire and water make steam, so that could be a very steamy time. So for the next decan, as I said, 8 of Wands, and they go alongside with the Magician and Temperance. And we have Mercury, Sagittarius, and the Magician. So the Magician, which is Mercury. And this goes from today, tomorrow, until the end of the month. So that's the one that I'm going to be investigating next. So thank you for watching. Hope this has been informative. Hope it has helped you. As you can see, I've done a lot of study, a lot of research for myself. So if it helps you as well, all good. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. If you like it, thumbs up. Maybe subscribe, that'd be wonderful. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next video. Bye folks.